Americans are quitting in droves. Have we discussed whether or not a drove is 1 million people or more? Because 4.5 million Americans quit their jobs in November. This according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And specifically, workers were most likely to quit their jobs in the hospitality industry, which had by far the highest number of quit rates. Did you know there was such a thing as a quit rate?
What is it?
A quit rate is the rate at which you quit. I don't know, like exactly, but
it's like per employee, like per 10.
Per something. I don't know, but 6.1% of those people it would hit a high quit rate per business in the United States, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and especially those people in the healthcare industry. So I wonder how many of those people quit because they didn't want to be forced to take a vaccine. I don't know. I guess we won't know that data yet from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, but this is a massive number of people quitting their jobs. The numbers in transportation, warehousing, utilities also increased. So if you're wondering why, maybe you try to call your utility company to get some answers about something and no one answers the phone because people are quitting.
Yes, this statistic specifically shocked me. A quarter of fast food workers in the Los Angeles area had contracted COVID over the past 18 months. Less than half of them had been notified by their employers that they had potentially been exposed. So people are in droves quitting fast food restaurants. So, okay, there's one thing that we're calling them essential workers. They are coming to work. They are being exposed to COVID without basic protocols of tracing and notification.
Right.
So, yeah, I would quit that job too. That's awful.
Well, and they're underpaid. I mean, let's talk about this. Like they make no money, right? When you work at McDonald's. When I worked at McDonald's, I think I made $4.75 an hour.
Yes.
$4.75 an hour. No health benefits.
You don't even get free food. You get a discount of food while you're working. We both worked at McDonald's, so we both know this.
Yeah. The November data released yesterday doesn't yet factor in the arrival of Omicron also. So these numbers, these 4.5 million people that quit in the United States does not include Omicron, which had yet to even hit U.S. shores.
It says hotels and restaurants are, they had the biggest separation, meaning employer and employee go different ways.
Which is such a stupid way of saying it.
It's not you, it's me.
Right.
While also logging the biggest decline in jobs. So are they closing? Are they not hiring? Or are they closed down temporarily for restrictions? That's the bigger question too, because November did seem like, I don't know, it's so hard to remember. Are you guys like me in my memory of the recent 2 years? I'm like, were we allowed to do stuff then or not? Okay, and did I go places? I'm not sure. So in November, I feel like the global sentiment was that we could be returning to life a little bit until Thanksgiving, and we had Omicron.
Maybe you're like Joe Biden. Maybe that's like he can't remember what year it is.
There's a lot of reason to be hopeful in 2020.
It's like stinking COVID Groundhog Day.
Right. It feels like the same thing over and over again. It really does. Like, are we going to, and it's not, and it's getting worse. So now we hit this, like, when you talk about COVID cases, you hit new COVID case records, and yet it's Omicron. So are we so concerned about Omicron that we're shutting back down again? I just want to understand like where these Americans are going. And a lot of them apparently are starting their own businesses, which I'm encouraged by that. They're saying, look, if I'm going to be screwed by this company, I'm not going to make any money at all. I'm not going to have any benefits. I'm going to be forced to work on the front lines without any sort of protections in place against getting sick. Then I'm just going to work from home, and I'm just going to, grin and bear it, and I'm going to do what I can right now to make a better life for myself.
Well, and when the media and the government is stirring up so much fear, what do they expect people to do? Who wants to go outside and deal with people and deal with anything if you're that scared that something's going to happen? Like there are people that are legitimately scared they're going to die. They're wearing 2 masks. They're going and testing themselves every other day.
Right.
Why would they go to a job and be around people?
Right. And, we saw a lot of these workers like at Frito-Lay and others who went on strike recently who've said, look, we just don't want to work 90 straight days without a day off. Like, can we do that? What do you think about that?
Well, and these, big companies sort of felt like they were licensed to do whatever they wanted with workers who were blessed to be considered essential and say, well, at least you have a job. You don't have to, be furloughed or go home or live off stimulus money. So you're here. We're going to treat you however the heck we want.
Right. And when we have like a sponsor on our show, like Wix, I mean, they're not sponsoring this segment or anything, but the reason like I'm proud of having companies like that on our show is because look, they're helping you to like start and launch a business, you know, start the thing from home that you've been scared to do for so long. And so now the barrier to entry is so low. The problem is for a lot of people, they don't have enough savings. So a lot of Americans don't have savings. We know from the data that if there was some sort of a catastrophe, they wouldn't have enough money to pay their emergency bills. So I'm just curious about this disconnect here. I mean,
and who is benefiting, right? So the data shows that positions in finance, insurance, and government work was increased while overall jobs numbers were down, right? So that goes to the point we were just talking about is the government's getting bigger, and finance and insurance companies are doing just fine, right? But people who live a regular life, I'm not saying people who work in finance are not regular, but you know what I mean. The average person is maybe not.
Rose Q in our chat. I love this. Can you put Rose's up on the screen here? Rose says, yes, my husband and I are getting our LLC for our business. We're getting out of the rat race, out of the 9 to 5. Way to go.
You. Bet on yourself.
Rose. Bet on yourself. That's awesome.
Are we hearing like out of all this polling, when they say people are quitting their jobs or whatever, is this taken into like, what do they consider it when you have a company that is not surviving the pandemic and they go out of business? Like over these 200,000 businesses that have gone out of business, when those people lose their job, what is that considered? Are they quitting? They're not fired. They don't quit. They just completely like disappear from the workforce. So how is that accounted for?
This data specifically is about people who voluntarily left their job, not because their jobs were.
But how do they know that? Then how do they know that that's the data? Like this person.
This is the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, because if you file unemployment, then you have to let it be known. Did you leave that job voluntarily? And if you say that you were, if you were fired or that you were downsized, then they check it with your employer so that they will then pay out your unemployment benefits.
Yeah, the way that they look at this, here's specifically the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics website. They say, the number of job openings decreased at 10 million on the last business day of November. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reported today hires were changed at 6.7 million and total separations increased to 6.3 million. So within those separations, the quit rate increased to 3%, matching a series high last seen in September. So again, this matches in November what we saw in September with people quitting. The layoffs, though, to David's question, and discharge rate was unchanged. So layoffs, people being laid off because of business closing or needing to go into further restrictions or whatever, was unchanged. So this is people who are saying, I'm done. I'm done being screwed by this company. I'm done being treated like gum on the shoe of this company. I'm going to start my own job, or I'm at a stage in my life now where, I'm receiving Social Security benefits. It's just not worth it for me. My health can't take it anymore. I'm 68 years old. I just can't be on my feet all day making hamburgers and getting paid nothing, no health benefits, and I'm just going to not I'm not going to go out to eat as much, and I'm just not going to spend money on frivolous things, and I'm just going to grin and bear it for the rest of my life. And that's really the sad thing for me, is to hear that.
Well, yeah, because you think of these people that are putting in all these hours and they go home and they can't even pay all of their bills on what they're making. It's like, why would you work that hard to go home and still struggle?
Yeah. They're saying quits are genuine, as Natalie said, generally voluntary, but they can have some sort of forced layoff. Like, as the Bureau of Labor Statistics says here, total separations includes quits, layoffs, and discharges and other separations. Quits are generally voluntary separations initiated by the employee. So, do you want to work at this job is basically how they're measuring this.